Hello and welcome to All Is True. My name is Sasha Korniak and this is a webcast at the request of multiple colleagues and associates about how to replace email, Outlook, Word, Excel from operational process on the day-to-day. I've been requested to do this for several weeks and now I've fortunately found some time to do that. You can also find a copy of this presentation at allistrue.org with the hyperlink at the bottom. So what this is a practical example, but before we continue with the practical example, I need to cover some prerequisites about some of your understanding of how things should be operating to really leverage the understanding of the philosophy that follows. So methodology versus framework. I'm sure that lots of people have heard about Agile, particularly around DSDM and some of the associations around the Agile Manifesto. Also loosely based with that is going to be the Scrum and the ideas of Scrum. Something that's new at the moment that people are slowly starting to approach is business agility. This really is business agility and also the philosophy of being lean. So I just want to make sure that there is some preconceptions within this presentation or webcast, that you have some understanding of the terminology and the way in which these values, behaviours work in order to understand exactly how you can carry out this process. So what we're talking about here is process engineering for tasks or workflow related processes or process. So effectively task management or workflow management. So there's Bob. Bob works in numerous organisations around the world. Bob receives lots of communications from lots of different people and there's lots of work to be getting on with. And part of when Bob is trying to do that by using Word, Excel and Outlook or email, could be Gmail, Bob has a process that he has to follow involving multiple people, and there's to be lots of communications why he can actually get the required information to be able to, in order to complete the task or resolve the issue. And really what this looks like is very similar to this diagram here, where there is multiple different things that need to happen before we can get resolution, or Bob can reply back to the person and complete the request, issue, or whatever the task is that we're trying to get done. So obviously with Outlook or just on the basis of email, and email has changed over the years. Now email is used for lots of different operational uses, including where we keep all of our documents, because we know where they are, and Outlook has, or Gmail for that matter, has a great way of searching to find those documents we're looking for. Doesn't seem to really happen in some of the other systems that may be available. People tend to use it from a point of view of keeping as a directory structure of documents. That's not really what it was required to do. These documents are usually Word documents where people go along and do. Remember, Word was there as a word processing engine to create letters, but now it's used for all sorts of different things. And now we also have Excel. One of the biggest frustrations within organisations is their need to use these operationally. Excel is not a relationship database. It is fine to be used by groups of individuals in small teams, but it really should not become part of your day-to-day operational capacity, because the fact is that we've all seen organisations that use Excel on multiple occasions, and unfortunately, because it does not have the features of a database, it ends up becoming bureaucratic and it really doesn't scale very well. I've met lots of organisations that run their whole organisation and it's very inefficient to use it on email. Apparently the dream is SharePoint, but unfortunately I found lots of organisations where this has never worked. There is a big difference between document management and document administration. People fail to understand the differences between the two. SharePoint has very good marketing, but very seldom lives up to the user expectation. How many organisations do you know and colleagues know where they can never find any of their files once they're on the SharePoint? And where do people do? They put them back on their email system because it's easy to find. Another alternative to this could be Huddle. Huddle does have the capacity of operating better than SharePoint and is also better on its return on investment. And you can go off and find further information on huddle.com. So what do we do and what's the history of email? So email was where you used to send an email to someone and then you used to copy other people. It wasn't really clear who was supposed to do the task or the request because there were multiple people copied into the two who was supposed to do it, and it was really easy for other people to pass the buck. The next bit was carbon copy CC underneath the two, which was really designed to inform other people of who you were sending the message to. But what's now it's used to copy in people's management to see if the request could be circumvented from any process, to be done urgently because everyone's request is urgent and more important than the other person's that's gone before them. This is a great way of showing within the demise of office working environments around passive aggressive behaviour. Or the other one that you could do is BCC someone's manager in from the point of view of trying to have that ability to circumvent process and policy. And also to intimidate people. That's another one to use as well with these other extra options. Also, CC was a really great way of telling all your colleagues that you were really busy and you were doing lots of work. And then also other people's opinions were that their opinion was more important than the other person that sent the message. Therefore, they would put their 2 pence worth in as well. And other people wanted to reply back to it to make sure that they were contributing to the actual original subject matter. And as you can imagine now, there is a lot of frustration within offices and organisations around the way that the fact is that we don't have rules for what determines of how we should use email. It is ad hoc and widespread in different ways of use. The other problem is that when we did an analysis on the way that email would be worked from the point of view of requests for tasks or issues to be resolved or to be completed, we found that this email was needed to be sent to multiple people before all the information and the requirements could be gathered for the task or issue to be completed or resolved. This is very inefficient and also allows people not to really understand exactly what's required of them and required of others because of missing communication and such other type of mitigating circumstances. So this really has caused a lot of frustration for lots of organisations, and I thought it was really important part of my presentation to explain this for future use. So we have Outlook, we have obviously Excel, we have Word, and also Kindle. Why have we got Kindle? Because one of the things I'm going to be talking about is a HTML engine or editor. And what this allows you to do is create relationship databases and do metadata-driven process and workflow by metadata. Metadata is information which is attached to a file or an item, which gives you more information about it, which allows you to find it more easily or process it more from an automated point of view. So what have we got here? So we're talking about collaboration, spending less time hunting for things and more time getting things done. Organising our work, creating documents, that does not mean Word and Excel, and discussing everything in one central place. Sounds like a dream. So a lot of the things which people don't understand is there's an awful lot of things going on with lots of different systems and everything's all over the place. It's not very helpful for people. There's multiple people involved in these processes all over the place that have different ranging understandings of what's required and what's needed. And authorization too. That can be something that could be needed before you can proceed. So this information can be very difficult. So what are these things? Well, they're Word documents. Now lots of organisations use video. Images. How many times have you been looking for that picture infographic? Obviously Excel spreadsheets. Now conversation. Conversation happens in an office all the time between team members, and ad hoc conversations that should really be in meetings that aren't recorded. Problems with these is no one ever knows where they are anymore, and if you weren't there, you didn't know. Because people talk. It's one of the things that we don't necessarily be able to control. Not that saying that we should, but the fact is that these things happen and it's very difficult to find out what was ended up happening because you weren't around the water cooler or in the kitchen at the time. And then we have our good old email, which we've just covered. So here's the solution for the vast majority of organisations. The ones that leverage extremely well with this will be non-for-profits and charities, because Atlassian give all of their products away for non-for-profits and charities for free. Yes, that's right. There is no charge for these applications. So we have Jira Core. Jira Core can manage business projects or operational tasks, including marketing campaigns, events, HR onboarding, approvals for requests, and also reviewing legal documents as just one of many examples, which we will go on and speak to later on. The next one that we're going to talk about is Confluence. Spend less time hunting around, like I said before, and this is where we're going to store information like meetings. We're going to end up storing meeting notes. We're going to store retrospectives, the documents. You're going to put down information on strategy and also information related to tasks and projects and getting things done all in one place, which is metadata driven with labels and categorization, and you can find things that you're looking for and also be informed, which is also something which is really useful. Most people will recognize Trello. Atlassian makes Trello, and basically Trello is made up of lots of different components and features from Jira Core and Confluence. That allows you teams to get more done by having visibility using the methodology which is known as Kanban. Very useful for teams. One thing that sits in between all of these products is something called Jira Service Desk. This is the way that you can communicate this information to be informed. There is an idea of collated content, relevant, timely, proportionate information that's central, which is only sent at the point of when someone needs it. That's not email. But this system will allow these systems to talk to one another and also to be informative. So that's a great way for people to respond and know what's actually happening. And also remember, one of the things, primary things within Agile is always accept change at late in the stage of the requirements, and this is one of the things that will happen. So if people don't quite realize what they actually wanted versus what they need, then this will allow the philosophy of this to happen. And these particular applications is where it all comes from. Jira software by software developers. Software developers are engineers. They're very good at doing things of this nature. And because of this, they've taken the best elements out of these particular applications and they've put them over here and to the left-hand side of the school. We're not going to go through this in this particular webcast, but there will be other webcasts in the future to go through. So just to let you know and understand a little bit more about the philosophy, and there'll be a practical example of me showing and demonstrating this. And also I will be creating more deep dives, which will be over 60 minutes long or around 60 minutes for people who really want to understand the features and the more granular detail. So Confluence can basically be there to look at store your documents, all of your information, and then it can be linked to Jira Core. To give you an example of this later on, what we will do is we will create a meeting agenda. We will send it out to people. People can start adding things to the agenda. No email is used by this rather than notifications if selected by the user. And then when we're at the meeting and we are actually discussing the tasks that need to be completed, we can actually dynamically link the agenda items in the meeting to people using Jira Core as a project which can be assigned, and the relevant information which is required to complete the task or issue can be done at that time. This is extremely powerful and also very optimized around efficiency savings. So people are not necessarily at the meeting, but they can be assigned tasks to be done at the meeting. And if they need to know more information about what's required, they can go back to the meeting notes on Confluence and find more information about who was there and what are the possibly other details that they may need. Opposite end, Jira Core also can affect Confluence. So if you are creating tasks and issues and you want them to store things in a knowledge base, oh crap, let me go back one. If you want to go back and store things in a knowledge base, or you want to update documentation which may be misleading or no longer up to date, you can go along and do that. And these things are interchangeable and can move across from one to the other. So I've now talked an awful lot about the underlying understanding of the applications and the methodology of how this all fits together. And now what I'm going to do is log into Jira and Confluence, and I'm going to show you this in a practical demonstration. So, as I said, this is the practical example of seeing how this can be used on the basis of some of the previous presentation. What you're looking at right now is Confluence in the cloud. There are two different versions, in the cloud and the server-based version. My preference is the server-based version because it's free for non-for-profits and charities, and it's also the more enriched and more up-to-date version of the application. It has more functionality and more features than the current cloud version. However, for this demonstration, there won't be that much of a difference between the two application states. So here we do. I've gone off and I've already created a space, a team space. This also could be an operational type space. I've stuck in my logo there just to give it a little bit of nice window dressing there. What we've got down here is we've got some options down here on the left hand side which we'll cover, and this page moves up and down like a web page. So this is a dynamic page which can be edited to provide dynamic information from different places. So as you can see down here, we can go along and we can change the status at some point. We don't have a status at the moment, but we do have a lead, which is me. When you go along and you have for example, the @ symbol, like you would in social media, this enables you to inform people. These can be information can go out by SMS, email, or they can be notified actually in the application itself. As you can see, we have a team here. There's 2 of us within the team, and recently we've had a couple of meetings, and also we've ended up having a decision log and a retrospective. This is just a quick infographic here to explain where we are within the particular project. Operationally, these information can be displayed the required information. This goes back to the previous presentation about information about videos and also any images that may be required. And right at the bottom here, you can already see some issues that have been created which are dynamically updated, and I'll cover that in a few minutes time. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on here and we're going to go into a meeting that I created a few moments ago. As you can see, there are 2 participants here. There was an agenda that was set, and that information can be distributed to people before the meeting happens, and then they can update with the content that's necessarily wanted. Then what we can also do here is, as you can see, dynamically we have linked the particular goal with a issue. Within Jira Core, all the tasks are particularly called issues at the beginning. Don't be too concerned about that. That is just terminology. And it's a practical example to bring in the principles and the values and the understanding of Agile, Scrum and business agility. This really sums it up. What I'm going to do with this particular goal is I'm going to highlight it with my mouse, and then up springs 2 options. One to put an inline comment, which I can do, but what I'm actually going to do this time is I'm going to create an issue, and that issue is going to be put within the project or the operational area of this particular area. And what this will go off and do is this will refresh the page, and this will create that particular task. And as you can see now, it's getting in the issues and the status will change. As you can see here, we have different statuses, which is to do with the workflow within Jira Core, and this can be also very well process engineered for the requirements of the organization or the business need, or what is the problem that we are trying to solve. So as you can see, these minutes can be done dynamically and can be assigned to individual with the right level of information, with people not necessarily needing to be at the meeting at the time. Further on down here, we can also add in action items that then can be checked off as necessary, and a decision can be made of what decisions were made at the meeting. All this information can be edited and done at the time, and there is no need to wait and these things to be typed up at a later date. This is around about having that agility of flexibility of making sure that things are done at the time and can be assigned at the time when things take place, which is really efficient. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump over to the demonstration of this is the core. Looks very familiar. As you can see here, we have an activity feed with all of the activity that's been happening with this particular project or operational department. Obviously, you can see at the moment there is one thing in the list to do. When I click away, there is 2 in progress and 1 has been done. You can also put more information into there that's needed. If I now, clicked in the wrong place. If I go to board, fans of Trello will see this as a Kanban board, and obviously we have the to-do, we have what's in progress and what's been done. And what we can do to change the status of these is we can just move these over to here, and then that status would be updated. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to click onto this one here, and you can actually see the task or the issue and the information that's here. So here we have a status. We can actually go along and change this and develop this to be further, to be very complicated or to be very simple. I'll do that in a further part, webcast. We can also assign these to individuals, we can have a due date, and we can set the priority, which is very good for around sprint planning. We can also add labels. This is what we're talking about when we are talking about metadata, and also we can put an estimate and track the time. There are other functionality within the marketplace of the Atlassian group which can also allow timesheets to be created, which would give you an idea of capacity management planning when you're looking at things like, for example, burn down charts as well, because the idea is we're supposed to get better every time we repeat a process or an operational area to improve that as we're going along. Also on the side here we have more detailed information that could be created. We can also see where it's linked and where it's mentioned in Confluence pages, and we can also see from the point of view of the work that's logged and the history that would be there as well. We can attach attachments and files. We can create subtasks and also assign those to other individuals. We can link issues together, which means that there can be common collaboration, and also we can link to other common Confluence pages, and there's more information and more things that can be given there. We can also watch this particular issue, so we can be informed on the status of how it moves. We can share this to other areas, and then we can do a lot of other things as well. Which I will cover in more of a deep dive. This was really just to highlight the way in which we can replace Word, Excel and Outlook or email on the basis of process for everyday use. I know a lot of these things say project, but you can use these with a little bit of customization, and this is really about mindset change, which is going to change behavior, which is really what we're looking to go along and do. I'm going to click back just over to Confluence, and I'm going to click on the overview and scroll down, and in theory we should now refresh here, and we should have, for some reason it hasn't come up, but you can go along and you can see the issues in the Confluence page for what's actually happening with the tasks that need to be completed, and you can change these menu items to actually reflect what might be more information for yourselves. What I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to click on the types of things that can be created here. We can create blog posts, minute notes, requirements, troubleshooting goals. We could also do retrospectives, reports. We can also do project plans. We can do all sorts of different things, as you can see here, including how-to articles and decisions, as well as goals, signals and measures. These are all templates that are created within the Atlassian products, which are extremely useful for teams and organizations. I hope that's been a good demonstration. My name is Sasha Korniak, and this particular webcast was brought to you by allistrue.org. Thank you very much.